Yo, what's good, y'all? We're slightly past the halfway point of the season, but we're not fully past for real, for real. I'd still say we're in the midway area. Y'all know what that means. It's time for the 2023 to 24 Midseason Awards. These are the awards given to players solely based on their performance this season and this season alone. There will be no previous season taken into consideration. Remember that. We got 9 categories we're going to go through: best performance, best game, best surprise team, most disappointing team, best under 21 player, comeback player of the year, best steal, the nursing home Ballon d'Or, and of course, most valuable player. Best performance goes to the best single game performance by a player in any competition this season so far. Best game obviously goes to the best game in any competition this season so far. Best surprise team goes to the team who has had the most unexpected success this season. Most disappointing team obviously goes to the team with high expectations that didn't meet them at all. Best under 21 player is self-explanatory. Comeback player of the year goes to the player that had the biggest resurgence this year, whether they was coming back from an injury or coming back from being ass last year. Whatever the case, that's who wins. Best steal goes to the best signing of the summer based on their first half performance. The nursing home Ballon d'Or goes to the best player over 31, so 32 years old or older. And of course, the most valuable player. The best player in the world so far this season. There's going to be anywhere between 3 and 10 nominees per category, depending on how broad it is. We're going to do all the nominees first and then get to all the winners after. I'm pretty sure that's how all those movie award shows do it, right? I don't know. I don't watch them anymore. All their picks are nonsensical. Y'all ready? All right, let's get into it. Our first category is Comeback Player of the Year, where we have 3 nominees. First is Virgil van Dijk. Had a down year last year, and everybody thought he was washed. He's returned to best center back in the world level this year, though. Then there's Florian Wirtz. I know he returned from his ACL injury last year, but this is his first full season back, and he's been losing it. Then finally, there's Isco over in La Liga going nuts for Real Betis. The next category is going to be Best Individual Performance. We got 5 nominees here. Jeremy Doku versus Bournemouth on November 4th. João Cancelo versus Porto on November 28th. Rodrigo versus Valencia on November 11th. Declan Rice versus Manchester City on October 8th. And Harry Kane versus Bochum on September 23rd. I'm not going to lie, this category seemed kind of weak nominee-wise, I think. And I can almost guarantee I'm forgetting something just because of how hard it is to keep track of every great individual performance. So don't dangle me from a rooftop or something if there's an obvious one that didn't get nominated. I'm sorry, okay? For Best Game, we have 7 more nominees. There's Chelsea versus Tottenham on November 6th, as well as Chelsea versus City the next week on the 12th. Chelsea was cranking out banger after banger at one point earlier this season. There's Botafogo versus Palmeiras on November 1st, the turning point in an absurd finish to the Brazilian season. There's the Clásico from October 28th. There's Arsenal versus Liverpool in December, one of the most entertaining games of the season, even though it didn't really have a crazy scoreline like City-Chelsea. Then finally, we have 2 more recent nominees. The absolutely ridiculous Cameroon versus Gambia game from just a few days ago, and then the Madrid derby on the 18th about a week ago. Now, I'm going to be real. This category was probably the hardest to put together, and it definitely had the most snubs. I could have added Arsenal versus Luton. I could have added Arsenal versus Chelsea. I could have added Dortmund versus PSG in the last week of the UCL group stage. That was a crazy game. There's Fulham versus Liverpool on December 3rd. Y'all get the point. Basically, there was a large amount of options to choose from. I had to cut it down to 7, though. I don't know. I'm sorry. For Best Under 21 players, we have 5 nominees. Florian Wirtz, he's still 20 years old too. Then there's Jamal Musiala, who's also still 20. Jude Bellingham, he's still 20 years old. Cole Palmer is the 4th nominee. He's still 21. Then finally, there's Xavi Simons, who's only 20, and he's been tearing it up for RB Leipzig. For Best Surprise Team, we have 3 nominees. This is a good category, I'm not going to lie. There's Aston Villa, who's sitting in the top 4 over halfway into the season with players like Ollie Watkins bugging out. The second nominee is Girona, who currently sit in first place in La Liga, even though Madrid is only 1 point behind them with the game in hand. Then finally, we have Leverkusen, who are relatively comfortable in first place over in Germany and still haven't lost a game in any competition all season. Most disappointing team is the next category. Ajax almost ended up here because I'm pretty sure they were dead last at one point, but they turned it around and they're top 5 now, so they escaped. I'll give them their props. We do still have 3 nominees for this category, though. There's Manchester United, finished top 4 and came in with a few shiny new signings just to have genuinely one of the most dreadful attacks in all of Europe for the first half of the season and sit in 8th place currently. Not to mention, they came dead last in their UCL group and won 1 game. Mind you, Copenhagen is in this group. Manchester United getting grilled by Copenhagen. All right, bruh. There's Napoli, who just won the Serie A title last year, and now they're sitting in ninth place over 20 points from the top. Then there's Chelsea. It feels kind of weird putting them here because nobody really expected them to be good anyway, but they did spend a ridiculous amount of money in the last couple of transfer windows just to be posted around 10th for most of the season. What are they, ninth right now? Shit. I kind of want to put Barcelona here because they're having a relatively disappointing season, but even in a down year, Barca is only 8 points off the top in third place, and they top their UCL group too, so, y'all can have it. Best steal is a big category. We got 5 nominations here. There was a lot of good business done in the summer, I won't lie. To be considered a steal in this category, though, the deal got to be less than $50 million. So no, the biggest of the biggest signings aren't going to be here. James Maddison was leading Tottenham to the top of the league early on, and they got him for what, less than $40 million? He's the first nominee. Leverkusen has 2 nominees, Victor Boniface and Alex Grimaldo. Endo and Vicario are the last 2 nominations in this category. If Alisson didn't exist, Vicario would probably widely be considered the keeper in the Prem that's having the best season so far. The nursing home Ballon d'Or has 5 nominees. Gundogan has been a bright spot for Barcelona so far this season. He's our first one. Antoine Griezmann is playing like the best player in La Liga for the second straight season. His main competition this year so far has been Bellingham. Thomas Muller is somehow still not bored of terrorizing helpless Germans. He has 6 assists in the Bundesliga and he's only started 7 games. Musiala is slowly colonizing his position, but make no mistake, this guy isn't going anywhere. I fully expect him to still be at Bayern by 2030. Toni Kroos is our 4th nominee. He's going to be pushing 40 real soon and he's not slowing down either. I swear Madrid found a fountain of youth or something and just forgot to let Hazard drink. Modric, old ass, still frying motherfuckers too. He's not a nominee though, unfortunately. The last one is still going to be a Madrid player though. I swear to God, these motherfuckers don't age. Carvajal is 32 and he's still one of the best right backs in the world. This year he's been incredible and he isn't really showing signs of slowing down. Last but not least, we have our final category, the most valuable player, the best of the best in Europe this season. For this category, we have 10 nominees. Mo Salah, Lautaro Martinez, Kylian Mbappe, Antoine Griezmann, Jude Bellingham, Virgil van Dijk, Harry Kane, Alex Grimaldo, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Alisson. Are there potential snubs? Yes, plenty of them, of course. You could argue Rudiger. You could easily argue Morata. You could argue Artem Dovbyk too, to be honest. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. I'm trying. There's a few switches I definitely wouldn't mind. On to the winners list we go, though. The nominees have been announced. Let the ceremony begin. The winner for Comeback Player of the Year is Isco for Real Betis. His recent brace against Barca brought more attention to it, but Isco's been doing devious work in La Liga this season. This is the same guy whose ass cheeks kept the Madrid bench hotter than a bonfire for like 4 straight years. He went to Sevilla to revive his career, and it ain't work out there. Bro was unemployed for half of last season, and to put it simply, he was assed out. He signed with Real Betis, though, and so far this year, he's got 6 goals and 5 assists in 26 games as a midfielder. I don't remember exactly what the number is, I won't lie, but I'm pretty sure it's almost 15 man-of-the-match performances in his 20 La Liga games. Van Dijk beat the washed allegations, and we're just performing at an elite level after just coming back from an ACL injury last year, but Isco gets the award from me. The winner of Best Individual Performance is Joao Cancelo versus Porto on November 28th. I feel like anybody who's watched this channel should have seen this coming. I've been dick riding this performance since it happened. It was so clutch, though. It was so clutch. At this time, I'm pretty sure there was a 3-way tie at the top of their group because Shakhtar Donetsk had won their afternoon game. So them, Barca, and Porto all had 9 points. Porto came out of the gate frying Barca, and when they went up 1-0, Barca looked dead in the water. Then Cancelo just took over the game. He responded with the equalizer in minutes, and he assisted Felix's winner later in the second half. It honestly could have been more than 2 goals that came from Cancelo because he was just pulling whatever out of his ass, bruh. Unreal performance. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. I think that's the best performance from a Barca player since Messi left. Best game? This was a very tough category. There's a lot of factors like importance, entertainment, obviously. This was a hard one. The winner in this category is Cameroon versus Gambia a couple days ago on January 23rd. Now, this might seem like an upset. What do you mean? No Premier League game? But I kid you not, this was the most entertaining game I've watched all year. Consider the context too. Cameroon and Gambia were tied at the bottom of their group, and whoever won was going to the knockouts. Cameroon goes up 1-0 early in the second half, and the celebrations begin. But then Gambia scored twice within 15 minutes to take the lead with just 5 minutes to go. My mother is Cameroonian, in case y'all don't know. I could physically feel her heart drop to the bottom of her ass when Gambia scored again and took the lead. Then, not even up to a minute after Gambia finished celebrating, they concede an unfortunate own goal, and then just a couple minutes later, Cameroon punches in the header to take the lead in the 91st minute. It didn't stop there though. A late handball helped Gambia equalize, and if not for VAR, Gambia would have dragged Cameroon down with them. I don't know if he thought he was Maradona or something. That shit don't work no more, bro. It's 2024. The goal was overturned, and Cameroon made it through. This game was so back and forth, just attack after attack after attack after attack, chance after chance. These are the most entertaining kinds of games. It had everything. The Prem may be the biggest league in the world, but I think the best game of the season so far came from AFCON. If I had to pick a runner-up, though, I'd give it to Chelsea versus Manchester City. That shit was actually nuts. For best under-21 player, we have a lot of good nominees, but there's one clear winner. Jude Bellingham takes this one with relative ease, leading one of the greatest clubs of all time through an injury-plagued season and still having them up and around the top of La Liga as a 20-year-old and leading La Liga in scoring for most of the season and having 7 goal contributions in the Champions League. It's not a competition, let's be real. If he wasn't around or if he was a little older, then the award would probably go to Florian Wirtz. Best surprise team, this was one of the hardest ones to choose. On one hand, you have a team that's outpacing Bayern and we're almost in February. They have no losses in any competition and they're 4 points clear in first place. They're running through the Europa League and even with Boniface's injury, they're showing no signs of slowing down. Then you have Girona. Their total team value may be just over 200 million now, but before the season, I don't even think it was 100 million euros. And they're sitting in first place in La Liga. To put that into perspective, Madrid's total team value is over $1 billion and Barca's is over 850 million. For best surprise team, the winner is Girona. Yes, what Leverkusen is doing is impressive, but y'all gotta remember, we already got major hints of this last season. Xabi got hired and took them from the bottom of the bin to 6th place. They only lost 5 times in their last 22 games, and they had wins over Bayern and RB Leipzig in that time span. This wasn't really out of nowhere. It was just the scale that was unexpected. We knew they would be good, at least. Girona was sitting in 10th place at the end of last season, and their only claim to fame was when Castellanos randomly dropped 4 on Madrid's dome. A leap like this is insane. For most disappointing team, the winner is Manchester United. Marcus Rashford, who dropped 30 goals last season, and Højlund, who cost over 70 million, Antony, who was 100 million, and your attack stinks that badly? Really? Rashford's fall-off got to be studied. He must have hit his head or something over the summer and got a permanent concussion. I really don't know what he be doing out there sometimes. Højlund really isn't bad. We've already talked about this before. You stick him somewhere with consistently decent creators on the wings, and he gets something done. Antony is just atrocious. Ajax laughing all the way to the bank right now because they legally burglarized Manchester United. Antony played like he just did a line before the game. He played like he having a seizure. He played like he got dementia. He played like a crackhead doing tricks for money. He played like Ronaldinho if Ronaldinho was actually terrible at the sport. All right, I'm going to stop. I'm sorry. I did say I would leave him alone a few months ago. It's been a while since I got on his ass, though. I kind of missed it. Anyways, there was quite a few people calling Napoli one-season wonders, and a lot of people didn't think Chelsea would make any kind of big leap from last year. I'd say United being ass was more unexpected to most people, even though there was definitely a few people who predicted it. For best steal, the award goes to Alex Grimaldo. There was a lot of good deals last summer, don't get me wrong. If Maddison never gets hurt, who knows? He probably wins this with the way things were going for Tottenham before the injury. But Leverkusen got Grimaldo for free, and he's been one of the best players in the world this year. He isn't really playing left back anymore. Alonso doesn't use a back four. Instead, he's been left mid for pretty much the entire season so far, and he does pretty much everything there is to do down that side. He has 17 goal contributions? Him and Frimpong have been unreal on those two sides. They're not undefeated without him at all. He had that huge free kick in their biggest game of the season early on against Bayern. He just had 2 assists, won man of the match, and assisted the winner against Leipzig in that big comeback win. You could easily argue that he's been Leverkusen's MVP this season. The nursing home Ballon d'Or is going to go to Antoine Griezmann. I don't think there's much controversy here. The other nominees are still doing their jobs at an elite level, but Griezmann is still best player in the world level. He's in the top tier right now. I wouldn't exactly call him underrated right now anymore because everybody acknowledges that the little Barca stint is irrelevant and it wasn't his fault he couldn't properly fit in there. I would say he's underrated at an all-time scale, though. Last but not least, we have our final category, the MVP, football's best player in the first half of the season. That award is going to go to Harry Kane. Some are going to argue that Kane shouldn't get it because Bayern isn't in first, but come on, they're not having a bad season. They've literally only dropped points in 4 of their 18 games, and they've lost twice. They're in the same pace as their treble-winning team from a few years ago, points-wise. Leverkusen has just been slightly more insane than them. It's true that Bayern as a whole isn't playing super well, but the only reason they're still on such a crazy pace is because of Kane. He's borderline carried them at some points this season, and he's elevated players like Sane, who's having his best season in years playing next to Kane. Kane is on record-breaking pace right now. He has 22 goals in 18 league games and 26 goals in all competitions for Bayern to go along with his 8 assists. He has to get MVP here. All right, I already know there's going to be a lot of disagreements, so if you think there was any snubs, let me know in the comments. Not everybody's going to agree on everything, so it's whatever. Thanks for watching the whole thing if you made it all the way here. I'm going to catch y'all next time.